Hey everyone, welcome back to Barcast TV. Today we are going to be featuring a match from the fourth qualifier in the Bar Pro League. So this was taken just a few days ago, and a quick announcement for you all if you're not aware. September 30th at 1300 GMT time, we're going to be playing our 1v1 tournament starting off in the round of 16. And we have a $600 prize pool, so if that is something you're interested in tuning into, it's going to be featured on the official Bar Twitch. So Saturday the 30th, 1300 GMT time, we're going to be playing that, and hope you all catch the games and enjoy some of them. So that's out of the way, we can get into our match. It should be a best of 5, or they played it as a best of 5 between Andy and Teddy here. So our first map is IUS Crack, and we have an interesting open from Teddy here. He's opening double solar collectors and a bot lab on top of this plateau here, whereas his opponent Andy is doing a little bit more of a standard wind open on the low ground here with a bot lab. So I've noticed Teddy's done this a few times, and maybe he just likes the math better on making 2 solars first. You just never run out of E, and it's pretty stable, and then he goes into wind turbines. So kind of interesting. Didn't quite catch the order at which he's making these units, but he's going, construction bot first off of 2 mexes. So really great open. You get this construction bot out really fast off the 2 instead of like a 3 mex open. We see Andy's factory isn't even done yet, whereas Teddy's construction bot is almost 50% done. It's like 40%. So you get that extra build power out a lot faster, and you can spend this initial starting mass. Teddy made the 2 solars, so that takes a lot of mass, but compared to his opponent, he's just got a little under 200 left in the bank, or 100, whereas Andy still has about 430 of that starting mass left. And that could be, of course, the difference we see. Taking that triple mech start puts you up about 130 mass right there, so I mean, that's an extra grunt. An extra construction bot, maybe a grave robber. You have 4 or 5 grunts, and yeah, so Teddy goes 2 construction bots really quickly. He hasn't made a grunt yet. He's getting this radar on the hill here, which is a fantastic spot. I've been adding that radar recently, and then just starts expanding with his commander immediately, blocking off this left side. Pretty cool open here, actually. You've got just this lane then to start protecting with your units at your factory. So pretty cool open from Teddy so far. Meanwhile, his opponent Andy is still sitting in the main base and has 2 expanding construction bots, expanding behind him. So quite a difference in openings and play styles here. See, these 2 grunts are finally going to be making, crossing each other's paths here. We'll see who actually takes the better of this engagement. I think Teddy got the first shot off on that. Should be taking this trade, yeah. Kills Andy's scouting grunt there, and is able to pull this damaged grunt back and perhaps repair it, or just let it heal over time. For those of you who don't know, units in Bar, if they're out of combat for, I think it's like over a minute, they'll start regenerating health over time. And that, I'm actually not sure about the commander. They took away the passive regen. Did they add it back? I'm actually not sure. We'll have to check and maybe verify that during this game here. Sorry for that. So we see Andy's moved up to 3 expanding construction bots, 4 rather. He's got 1 assisting the one in the back here, and really wants to lock down this top right quadrant here. Meanwhile, Teddy is just playing really aggressive. I like this start here from him. He already has these 3 mexes capped. He's got the two LLTs blocking off this run by. He's got this fantastic radar position to get units in position if he needs to, and has a construction turret up, which unfortunately used all that build power to heal up this grunt instead of producing new ones. Perhaps not the best use of build power, but who am I to judge? And this mass differential is about 200 4 minutes into the game, so that is quite a few grunts. Extra for our man Andy, who's really just put it into build power. I mean, look at how much build power we have expanding on the map right now. Teddy's done a good job of moving out these 2 construction bots as soon as this construction turret was finished, and is just pumping grunts at the moment, so it doesn't have any extra build power queued up as of yet. And kind of like this style. Really, you get a lot of units out quickly, got expansions going down, healthy economy. The only thing perhaps you could have a little more of is some E We see he's about 120, 130 energy behind his opponent, who has done a really decent job of constant E production here. So, and has a construction turret up. He's working on one energy converter, since Andy's kind of excessing energy at this point. 6.2k excess out of 40k. That's quite a high percentage. You want to keep that number as low as possible for a clean, efficient build. And you know, it's not the biggest of deals, but I mean, it's just kind of some low-hanging fruit. Andy's going so far as to adding an LLT right here, blocking off this run-by path and protecting these wind turbines. So a little bit of insurance here, using that extra metal and build power to just shore up the hatches there. Meanwhile, his commander has moved towards the middle of the map. He was starting this radar. Why did you move your commander back here? Maybe he's like floating so much mass. He doesn't want to build a second factory, so he's just got to move back to the main base and assist his own factory. Meanwhile, Teddy is keeping his money low at the moment. Let's go to these player cameras. Finally added on a little extra build power here, and he's going to be making a second construction turret and a second factory here on the low ground with his commander. So, and that's interesting building positioning here. So if we turn off these camera views for a second, I want to say these construction turrets can actually reach this and assist both factories simultaneously. So pretty cool use. For those of you who don't know, you actually can't move up this little plateau with vehicles, save for the amphibious constructor. So really wants to put that on the place where the units can move out onto the map. Looks like Andy's commander decided better of moving back to the main base and is still expanding in the middle, finally getting up this really forward radar. He's done a nice job of making radars, even has exploiters going up, so one here on the right side. You've got one here on the back blocking off this run-by location. You can still see you've got a little bit of room between this exploiter and the top of the map, or just running over this terrain with some bots, so you can still get past that. Take maybe a little zoom out here, get a bird's eye view of where these armies are at, what players are telegraphing here. See Teddy setting up a big run-by here on the right side. Andy's kind of doing the same thing, except on the left has this fight command issued and is sharking around opposite of his commander in this right lane of the crack. So I see this crack is kind of broken down into these alleys here. Really wide extreme attack paths to kind of flank your opponent or threaten a backstab here. And then even these plateaus serve as like a tiebreaker. If we get really stalemated, you can get the air factory up and capture these nexus on the high ground. Even placing radars up here is really strong. You can get a really nice radar positioning right there. That being said, Andy's found some damage here. Caught Teddy in a vulnerable position here. He's going to catch two construction bots. If he's micro-propelling, he's taking some losses on the left side, though. He's ran his grunts into a couple of incisors. Those do not really trade efficiently, but was able to pick off two construction bots on the right side. Meanwhile, Teddy's run-by is getting a lot of damage. Gonna have to jump over to this, clears out this exploiter, two mexes, and an LLT, and is not done getting damage, and is gonna find a lot more here in the top right corner. Andy doing what he can to bring some units back, and yeah, this is a lot of counter damage here. Just 3 grunts are gonna shave off a lot of economy here. And that's gonna give Teddy the opportunity to start pooling his incisors in this right lane. Andy doing what he can to continue this harassment, but Teddy had just enough units in position there. Perhaps Andy's going to clean up one more mechs here, but that's right outside the range of the factory, so Teddy could create a grave robber here and easily res all those units. So it looks like Teddy's going to be going in with another attack. He's got a lot of incisors moving to his opponent's side. Andy finally has his second factory built and is moving into pounder production. He's got 2 construction turrets finished on this front line, so really like this strong forward position. Let's see if he's going to be able to capitalize on it after this attack here from Teddy. So he's got a lot of units in position. Should be able to kite these incisors. Really nice holding that line, standing underneath the LLT, which adds a lot of firepower to this, and finally starts giving chase a little bit. He's going to clear out most of these incisors. You really don't want to chase incisors. They're so efficient at dealing with grunts. Andy's gone ahead and made a couple of grave robbers. I'd really like to see those microed over here and just like get this exploiter online, these mexes back online as quickly as you can, and then move into resing these units. Like, I don't think Teddy's going to give him time, though. He's moving in with 5 more grunts, 2 incisor hit squad here on the bottom right, and Andy's finally pressuring the front here. So we see these 2 pounders 3 medium tanks are really a lot of pressure here. You can't fight this with incisors, and that's what Teddy is doing, is just kind of completely neglecting this front line. He wants to attack around this force here, try and get as much counter damage as possible. I think fortunate for Teddy though, his commander is right here, so we'll see how strong the micro is. Andy isn't going to let him get that D-gun off, starts immediately pulling back as soon as he sees that commander. And is maybe going to clear out this right lane. It'd be nice to clear out these exploiters here, that expanding construction vehicle. But he really needs to get these this economy back up online in the top right quadrant. He is doing a good job of expanding on the left side, and this is not the best trade for Andy. I mean, see how good these exploiters are at dealing with grunts and packs. They can finally shoot over each other now. And we see in the middle these tank versus tank battles can go on for quite a long time. Counters are fairly strong against those medium tanks. And yeah, these incisors have found the back of the economy here, so we're going to take a lot of the wind energy for, I mean, this is so much damage. He didn't find the wind turbines on this high plateau, but it takes out all these wind turbines, a couple of mexes. Left a lot of wrecks for his opponent though, so we'll see just how Andy's going to be able to recover from that. Despite the damage, he's still up about 200 E per second over his opponent, which Teddy hasn't been doing the best job of expanding. He's still in this bottom left quadrant. Andy's gobbling up more and more of the map, trying to pressure all the way up to this line drawing across here. So we can see Teddy doesn't really have that equivalent presence on the map on this bottom right side. So these two grave robbers may end up going down to that one grunt. Looks like one of them is going to go down. I'd like to see about 4 or 5 more made. Andy's trying to get a few more out. It's going to be hard to get too much res power on the battlefield with like such a little E. And he took a big hit to that. And some of these grunts are going to be caught by the medium tanks on the left side. You can't run into medium tanks with grunts. They just don't do any damage essentially. And the splash damage is fairly relevant from the medium tanks. So I mean, you can do a lot of splash damage against how tightly these grunts actually move together. And interesting how Teddy groups his units up like this. Just kind of makes a big blob and then moves them as one. So we saw that used a couple times here on the right side as those attacks went forward. And now we've got a renewed pressure here on the left side. Some medium tanks have been brought up, and that is a lot of army here. So Teddy's going to be making a very strong push here on the left side. Andy's doing what he can to kind of kite back. You don't want to take a direct engagement here. Let's go to these player views for a second. Looking at Andy's perspective here, doing what he can to micro this battle. Excuse me, this is Teddy's. Take a look at Andy's. Teddy pulling back, turning around to capture those or take out those 2 construction vehicles. He ends up picking those off and is leaving a huge reclaim field here right next to the commander. So you can see that commander immediately steps up. He's going to gobble up all this mass and turn it into units. Got 6 construction turrets up, split between 2 factories. Take a look at Teddy's main base. He just has the 3 construction turrets up and is assisting his vehicle plant with his commander, so isn't really using that in a forward position on the map. And Andy smartly reinforces with more medium tanks. He really wants to get the control of this reclaim field, get all that mass to himself, and finally has a nice little gang of resbots here in the top right quadrant. It has a construction bot here, capturing his mexes again. And should have his attention focused on this front here. We don't see any run-bys at the moment. More resbots coming out, heading to a separate front. And a big group of grunts and incisors on the right side that are all res. You can see these halos, so Teddy's attack from earlier is going to come to bite him back, as he's going to lose a lot of this economy. We'll see how he responds to that. He's got most of his units to the front of the line here. Found a way to get a couple of these lashers, these missile trucks out. That might trigger Andy to step forward and try and, really overwhelm him with the firepower of those medium tanks. But fortunate for Teddy, he has got a couple of pounders, but Andy's attacking on a couple of fronts right now. See, Teddy's concentrated his forces here in the center, and are we going for a little bit of a pincer move here? Got this army completely surrounded. He can start getting flanking damage on this, and these missile trucks are vulnerable to the medium tanks in the back, and we just have this idle hit squad that could really come up here and clear out all the economy for Teddy. He's got no army to deal with that at the moment. This is like 25 grunts right now. Excuse me, 13 grunts. 9 incisors. It's like this battle might go to Andy. I mean, these missile trucks, I don't see any medium tanks left for Teddy, so it's going to have to be constantly pulling back, and they don't have enough DPS to deal with these medium tanks. You can see they just kind of tickle those HP bars over time. They're great for attrition, but you really can't really get contested. Yeah, and Teddy's going to degun his own factory and tap out, calling GG, so really strong play there. Nice job, Andy, and we'll be going into game 2. So once again, this was taken from the 4th qualifier of the Bar Pro League. If you guys would like to see any more of those matches cast from any of the other qualifiers, I have a few in the bank here I'm going to be putting up on the channel. But yeah, if there's a specific one you would like to see or like casted, let me know. Leave a comment, like the video, and if you can, I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you for those of you who have. Really appreciate that. And so game 2 is going to be on Cold Place, which I've been seeing some fantastic games on. Seen a couple of T3 games even on this map in a 1v1, which is kind of insane. It did happen though, so let's go ahead and get right into it. These players are still doing dual spawns, so interesting. I figured players wouldn't remember to do this, so I thought to just kind of get rid of that rule, but it seems like they agreed to do some dual spawns anyway. So we have spawning on the right side, playing as the blue pieces, Andy, and his opponent playing as the red pieces, spawning on the left side of the Cold Place. We have Teddy, who's down a map, but I don't really want to count this guy out yet in a series. Teddy is a very well-seasoned player, probably one of the top 4 players in Bar. Definitely expect him to make it to the round of 8 out of his group here, which Teddy is in Group A, so what is that? Taku, it's going to be Taku, Teddy, excuse me, I don't recall. I know Snoopa messaged me and said he's not going to be able to play, so we're going to get an alternate player for that group. I think that's going to be CJ, and there's one other player in that group, forgive me, but let's go ahead and get into this game. Looks like we have some observers drawing on the map, Professor Bar and some spectator, not sure, but yeah. Gonna have to clear this off the screen. Yeah, Professor Bar was casting this game on his stream, but when these were live, so thank you for doing that. I wanted to come back and cast these. I didn't get to see any of the games from Qualifier 4, so this is just us watching this together if you're seeing it for the first time. So Andy, 2-mech start in these dual positions on Cold Place, goes double construction bot first and expanding. Same for Teddy, so I think I might start doing this myself. You can get these 2 construction bots out fairly quickly off the 2-mech start, and then reinforce the position with the grunts coming out of your factory. And there's such a short reinforced distance, right? So we go like 2 construction bots and like immediately start making these grunts. So you want to get this build power out onto the field as quickly as possible. Andy playing even greedier, so going up to 4 construction bots off of 1 grunt here. This is super greedy play. I think he might get away from it. Teddy's doing what he can to just sit here and protect himself. He's got 1 patrolling grunt here. He's got 2 moving to the bottom side of the map. 1 looking to cut off this little lane right here, but he kind of organizing his forces a little better. Yeah, so you know, while this game is kind of slow, we can take a look at these player cameras and see how these players actually like to play. Looks like Window's really strong there for a second, so Andy chose to make an energy converter here. He's making another one, actually, so he's trying to burn through this excess energy. You can take a look at the statistics panel for a second. That's not too bad. I mean, well, I guess like 10%, yeah. 2K into 22. A little less than 10% excess E. But it has a lot of build power heading down south, so not heading towards the middle here. This is an interesting decision, actually. You can take a look at Teddy's perspective here, how he likes to play, where his forces are at, and his vision. Really early into the game, 3 minutes into the game though, so has 3 expanding construction bots. I can see 1 construction turret in the main base. And is he expanding with his commander? Let's take a look at that. Now that was the building construction bot. He was just queuing up commands already, so you can see how efficient these players try and play. Oh, got these long build queues, AFK construction bots, as one might say. And Andy's got an idle factory. You don't really like to see that. He needs to get some grunts onto the battlefield, especially with these 4 or 5 grunts making their way onto his side of the map. And this factory is still idle. You gotta make units out of your factory. So it looks like we have one construction bot, 100 grunts. And it's going to be immediately going to make another construction turret here in the back, perhaps outside of range of this one. So all this build power can be making grunts while he tries to add on another construction turret. These 2 grunts from Teddy that were sent across the map so long ago finally making their way to the bottom right quadrant of this triangle. Not sure if that's the right word. And could end up catching this construction bot. Andy is really on top of placing these radars though, so he's too good for that. Pretty sure I would have lost that, or he's able to kind of pull that back, reinforce that position, and Teddy is grouping up a fair number of grunts here heading towards this top right, and it can be so annoying once you get units up on these hills in the back trying to deal with those. They even like can run through some radar coverage, so it can be really hard to keep track of all the units up there if they do get behind your base. Such a pain to have to deal with these like constant threat of backstabs and run-bys. And Teddy can just expand for free, like these five mexes here are just totally free. Kind of like this position, he's blocking off this run-by path here and forcing units to move into the output of his factory. So really strong play there. Can defend all these mexes for free, and he's doing the same thing here. So really clean positioning on LLTs compared to your factory output and where you think your units are. So something to take note of. And he's getting ready for a forward factory, I'm assuming. He's getting a construction turret up, another LLT. I think you do need at least 2 LLTs to prevent or to protect a forward factory. Especially if you don't know where the commander is at, they can kind of walk up and degun your factory. Don't want that happening. And it looks like Andy's going to go 2 more mexes and an exploiter down here to kind of protect this bottom right. And Teddy complaining about the wind right now. Both players, we can see in the bottom right corner here, these energy bars are super low. So Teddy being stubborn though, he's got 700 mass in the back, isn't making a solar collector. So, and has moved into an air factory, so already making some paralyzer drones. Does Andy must know these units are up there in the top right. He's got these grunts and has made 2 LLTs in the back of his main. I even saw Ragnar one game. He just literally made a wall of LLTs on the back of here. I don't even think there was units back there at the time. He was just preemptively making those. Doesn't even want to deal with it. Wants to focus his attention elsewhere, like contesting one of these corners of the triangle, you know. Focus your attention, microing this. So we see this factory has completed, construction turret already finished, and something I've noticed, Andy likes to make 2-pounders out of these forward factories, so really can protect this from a bunch of grunts, like, you know, say all these grunts that are behind the main base. We're actually, with this units right here, you can really pressure that factory, but that's how Andy likes to protect himself. And I think you gotta attack, you gotta issue a fight command. There's 2 of these construction bots right next to your grunts, man. You gotta deal with those. This little grunt run by in the behind the main base of Andy, finally finding or stepping off the hills, trying to find some damage. These 2-pounders are slowly moving forward. You can't run those into these twin guard towers. I don't even know how Teddy got those up so quickly, but these are actually super strong against T1 units. And we see these grunts pick off 2 construction bots in the bottom left corner and are not done getting damage. Teddy's going to be forced to bring his paralyzer drones up, which are a great counter to run-bys here. They already got one of these grunts paralyzed. And he should be getting those cleaned up quickly enough. Meanwhile, on Andy's side of the map, these grunts have found a way to find some damage here. They've run off the hill in front of the army of Andy here and are going to be finding a lot of damage here. So he's got to get in front of these units. You can't kite these grunts down. You're just gonna keep running through your forces. And meanwhile, on the front, we see a couple of missile trucks and artillery coming out. And for those of you who don't know, the uninitiated, these missile trucks have a really long line of sight and can give your artillery vision. So it's a nice unit composition. You want to get at least one of these missile trucks out to give your artillery vision. So you can see you can start harassing those twin guard turrets while Teddy cleans up these units on the bottom left side with the paralyzer drones. But this is giving Andy like all the time in the world to expand. So he's got 2 LLTs, an exploiter, nice radar positioning, anti-air turret, and should be making a res bot. There's a few grunts back here that have been kind of running back and forth throughout the course of this game, and we're 9 minutes into the game. Let's take a look at the statistics tab here. Both players super even, just 300 medal difference is not a lot here. 10 minutes into the game, just about. And Teddy has moved into a vehicle plant and medium tank production, so it looks like he reclaimed both of his factories, something these players are so good at. And it's like Andy's confident to take a fight here. Teddy's just going to tap out, seeing how many grunts he's up against. And that's a really clean play. I'm not sure where Teddy fell behind so hard, but just maybe it was the air factory. Just couldn't contend with that push from Teddy there, or push from Andy on the top mid side of the lake, and is forced to tap out. So that was a really clean game, and we're going to move into game 3 between Teddy and Andy. So I know it's been a couple of weeks coming. I've been focusing my efforts on organizing the Bar Pro League, so that's why I haven't been producing so many videos. So thank you all for being patient, and hope this Pro League Season 1 inaugural event goes off pretty well. We're going to have another season if you guys are interested. I'm going to do some things a lot differently, or not a lot differently. I've been getting some good feedback. Thank you guys for have been posting suggestions in the Discord. So I'll be sure to, give it some extra thought and think about how we can make the best tournament for, players, spectators, all the above. So thanks everyone participating and helping out. It's been a really cool experience. So, and we have a great tournament this Saturday. So we got a little like icing on the cake. The games aren't over, and here we are, Comet Catcher, spawning on the right side of the map, playing as the blue pieces. We have Teddy and his opponent. Game 3, up 2 games. The man, the myth, the legend, Andy. One of the favorites for the tournament. To win the tournament, I'd say. We've got a couple of really high-ranked players. These guys are almost 60. Jeez Louise. 60 true skill, so much. Teddy going for this 3 mechs open, 2 solar collectors into vehicle plant. Looks like Andy's doing the same thing, and super mirrored build so far. A little bit different on these solar collector positionings. See, this factory is like about 34%. Looks like Andy is a little more efficient. I'm not sure if that's just like a difference in the mechs positions. I do know, like, say if your commander is building this mechs and you rotate to build these ones up here, you don't have to rotate as far as opposed from like here to here. So what's that, theta? Teddy going ahead, adding on a 3rd solar collector and a 4th before any construction vehicles. So just wants to get a couple of scouts out before he really starts assisting this factory. You can see is this 3rd one just going to finish 4th, so really making a lot of scouts there. Andy doing something differently. He's getting a radar up surrounded by solar collectors. Really like that. He's able to assist out a 1 construction vehicle, and finally is getting some scouts onto the map. So this can be this is a really greedy open, and we'll see if it pays off for him, if he's able to kind of get enough scouts out to deal with this pressure from Teddy, who hasn't made a construction vehicle yet. He just continuing to make scouts. So I think if there's really no way to know this is going on, and I mean, at some point when I'm getting this pressured, I'll just throw up an LLT somewhere with my commander. But obviously Andy's better than me, so don't listen to my advice. But if I think my opponent's like cheesing me or is it playing playing really aggressive, I'll just make a LLT somewhere in my base, hopefully like back here. You just like walk back over here with their commander and make the LLT. But Andy's going to be using units to defend, and I see more scouts for our blue player than our red player. So we'll see how this micro goes. It can be weird in bar because units like to target economic structures over military ones, so it can be like lose your entire force to. Ooh, that would have been a nice self D. He ran all those scouts by that mech here. But anyways, so the engagement looks like Andy kind of gets the better of it. I mean, he cleans up all the construction vehicles. His commander's already here to rebuild those 2 mexes. Can get a little. He's in range of a little bit of metal there too. You can see on Teddy's side of the map, he's able to get 2 construction vehicles out, and he's just naked expanding 4 mexes here, no LLTs. He's got another construction vehicle, and I heard a detonation going off, so it looks like Andy detonated this mech here next to his factory to take care of one of those rovers, and is going so far as to adding this LLT in the back, and that's not where the pressure is coming from. We see these rovers have found the bottom, I guess the bottom side, excuse me, but there's an LLT already there, so it's going to lose one of those for his trouble. It could have gotten maybe a control will be off, but does that actually leave the wreckage? I'm not sure. So take a look at these positions here. You got 2 blitzes that are made their way to Andy's side of the map, so a really tough position here. You got a blitz and an LLT. Excuse me. I'm not sure how these scouts got that LLT. Like, that was kind of wild. Is there like friendly fire damage from the blitz? I'm not sure how 4 scouts take out LLT. I kind of missed that. And this LLT is going to be protected by the construction vehicle, so you're doing your thing. Andy's not even getting the repair off. Do you need the repair here? Not necessarily. So that was kind of a donation, I'd say. Teddy's still trying to find damage with some scouts, but I don't see any more tanks on Andy's side of the map, and he's free to expand. Both players, excuse me. Both players have an expanding construction vehicle. And I think it's Andy's turn to kind of punch back here. He's got 5 tanks, 6 tanks out on the map, 4 rovers. Teddy's up 1 blitz, but kind of lost his momentum and pressure here. You see Andy's moving into the middle of the map with this 2 construction vehicles, and like Armada construction vehicles expand so quickly. Kind of scurrying out of the way to get this LLT down. It's a little bit of wasted build power there, but not the end of the world. Something to be aware of in bar: if you place a building underneath of a constructor, it kind of has to like move out of the way awkwardly. It takes a really long time to do, so it's best to get those down as quickly as possible. Andy finally getting a dedicated constructor going for build power, and I missed it, but on Teddy's side of the map, looks like one of these mexes was harassed down. This LLT did what it can to clean that up, and we've got a big run by here. So 5-6 of these tanks trying to get these construction vehicles, but Andy's too good. He kind of pulls back, even goes as far as to heal these one of those blitzes and the damage it took. It's getting up that forward radar. Andy trying to get some counter damage done, and I think he's gonna find it. He might get those 2 mexes, and even on Teddy's side of the map, he's gonna take out one of these mexes, and this is really nice counter damage after the start of this game here. So, I mean, we still have these expanding construction vehicles, but like everything they've done before that, just to get up to this point, is gone. And we've got another run-by attempt here from Teddy. He's moving towards this double mex LLT start, and this can be the issue where it's like your units, the structures have a lot of HP, and you're not, instead of attacking these units that are attacking you, you're dealing damage to the economy structures. We saw Teddy was actually microed down that LLT, so he did right click on that to take it down, but you really have to be careful and cognizant of what you're attacking when you're doing those run-bys. It's like, is the point to get economic damage, or do you think you can, take a clean fight and continue harassing? So something these higher level pro players are so good at making that decision on the fly. They've got years of intuition essentially built up to that point, so they can make these decisions, good decisions on the fly, without really having to think too much about it. Teddy is pressuring in the mid here, keeping Teddy on his toes, and is trying to run to the back of the main base. I mean, he might get this second max. So 2 maxes for 2 blitzes. I know he found some extra damage. He finally just decides to give up on microing those for now. And this is a pattern I've been seeing a lot, is players will expand like this across Comet Catcher and just make that wall of LTs, and that lets you get all this real estate for free. So do with that as you will. No, I don't really think Andy likes to walk into the mid. Some players have different opinions about moving the commander into the mid or not, or have preferences, I'd say. Maybe not sure if it's an opinion or more so as a preference. And here we go, big blitz versus blitz battle. Is Teddy going to commit to an attack? He's gotten a little bit ahead of Andy's army here, but he's going to circle back around and give Andy the fight. He's going to catch this construction vehicle here. Andy turns around, he's trying to run down these blitzes. And can Teddy pull back kind of free here? Yeah, he does. So both players trade out kind of evenly. You see an even number of tanks essentially. And yeah, Teddy's going to step back forward, but a lot of those blitzes were pretty heavily damaged there. So go down very quickly in that second fight. And we already have a construction vehicle from both players making their way to this reclaim field. Teddy actually trying to get an LLT up, but is doing that in front of a couple of blitzes here. Andy's not going to let him have it. He's going to take out 2 construction vehicles in the center. That is huge damage, actually. He's taking this fight. Andy has a constructor already reclaiming all this mass, so gobble, gobble, gobble. That's going all into this build power. He's at 5 blitzes on repeat. No construction vehicles or rovers. It's interesting. Being really selective about how he wants these units out onto the battlefield. Kind of the edge you need at these high levels here. You can't take anything for granted, and even, putting build queues on repeat. Can't use it at these high levels, I guess. Andy's being super clean with his opens and where he needs build power. Let's take a look at Teddy's main base. It's about half down on energy at the moment, so we see a pretty wide gap here as far as energy produced. These statistics don't lie. Andy's up, what is that, 1.4k metal and about 18k energy, so that is a lot. How much energy is a light tank? Almost 1,000, so. And does this statistics actually, does this tell the tale of how much reclaim? I'm never sure. I really need to get a definitive answer on that. I would love in the UI if we had a way to tell total reclaim from both players really efficiently. I mean, we have the halos on top of the rezzed units, but I'm not really aware of how you can really quickly determine who has reclaimed what over the course of a game. It can really be the deciding factor in a lot of bar games, I'm sure you all know. And this looks kind of like the beginning of the end. We have no presence here in the mid from Teddy. All of his expansions are getting raided. See that? Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, Teddy is going to tap out and call GG. So Andy takes this second final here. Both players ended up qualifying for the main event. So not the most pressure to win these games from either player, but it's nice to take a victory. Give your sense. I'm sure these players might end up meeting again in the tournament, so this is good information for either one of these. And if I had more time, I would do some deep dives into these players, and hopefully you all who are stuck with these players in the groups, you're watching their replays, trying to study up and figure out how they like to play. So that being said, I'm glad to be back with you guys, and just a solo 1v1 cast, best of 3. Haven't done one of these in a while, so if y'all enjoy these casts, if you enjoy the games, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next replay. Thanks for watching.